There's a specific moment that many adult children aren't prepared for. It's not the diagnosis, it's not the hospital visit. It's the moment when the parent who was always a strong one suddenly isn't. The parent who handled everything, the one who solved problems, the one who held the family together, the one who said things like, "Don't worry about me." And then one day, they forgot something important. They struggle to get up the stairs, they fall, they seem confused, or they quietly admit, "I'm having a harder time than I expected." For many adult children, that moment feels disorienting because when the strong parent declines, it doesn't just change logistics, it changes identity. Today, we're going to talk about what actually happens when the strong parent finally declines and why that moment is so emotionally complicated for families. Hi, I'm Dale Corpus, a senior transition specialist and seniors real estate expert based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I work with families navigating senior living decisions, housing transitions, and care planning during some of the most emotional chapters of their lives. And one of the patterns I see over and over again is this: families who were prepared for aging in theory, but completely unprepared for what it feels like when the strongest person in the family begins to decline. This is another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we bring clarity to decisions that are often made under pressure. Let's dive in. Let's talk about the parent who always held everything together. Most families have one: the strong parent, the organizer, the decision maker, and the one who knew how to handle finances, emergencies, family conflicts, home maintenance, and life in general. They were steady, reliable, and in control. And for many adult children, that parent became the psychological anchor of the family. So when that person begins to decline, it doesn't just feel like a health change. It feels like the ground shifting underneath the family. What surprises many families is how emotionally destabilizing this moment can feel. Adult children often say things like, "I never thought this would happen to them," or "They've always been so strong," or "I thought we had more time." This moment can trigger a wave of emotions: grief, denial, guilt, confusion, and urgency. And many adult children don't realize that what they're experiencing is a form of anticipatory grief. They're beginning to mourn the version of their parent they've always known, even while that parent is still here. That emotional tension can make decision making much harder. When the strong parent declines, something else happens. Roles start to shift. The parent who once protected the family now needs protection. The parent who made the decisions now needs guidance. The parent who solved problems now needs help solving them. And even when the transition is necessary, it can feel uncomfortable. Adult children often hesitate to step into that role. They worry about overstepping, disrespecting independence, making the wrong decision, and upsetting their parent. But avoiding the role shift can create another problem: delay. And delay is where risk begins to increase. When the strong parent declines, the early signs are often subtle. They may look like small memory lapses, missed medications, difficulty managing finances, slower mobility, increased isolation, and a home that's becoming harder to maintain. Individually, each change may seem manageable, but collectively, they tell a story that the parent's capacity is shifting. And recognizing those signals early allows families to make decisions calmly instead of reactively. One of the biggest reasons families delay action is respect. They don't want to undermine the parent who has always been capable. They think they've handled everything their whole life. They'll tell us if they need help. But the strong parent often doesn't say anything because strength has been their identity. Admitting vulnerability can feel like losing that identity. So instead of asking for help, they quietly compensate until a fall, a hospitalization, or a crisis forces the conversation. The goal is not to take control. The goal is to start collaboration. Instead of saying, you can't manage this anymore, try starting with, how can we make things easier moving forward? Or what would make the next few years feel more manageable for you? Strong parents respond better to partnership than control because partnership preserves dignity. Here's something many families discover later. When the transition is handled thoughtfully, something unexpected can happen. Relief. The parent may feel relief from responsibilities that had quietly become overwhelming. Adult children may feel relief knowing there is a plan, and the family dynamic can actually stabilize when expectations are clearer. The decline of the strong parent is emotional, but it can also become the beginning of a more supportive system. So, what should families focus on first? When this moment arrives, focus on three things: safety, communication, and planning. Safety means evaluating the home environment and daily routines. Communication means aligning siblings and setting realistic expectations. Planning means looking ahead at care, housing, and financial options before urgency appears. Those three steps alone reduce enormous amounts of stress. So today we talked about what happens when the strong parent finally declines, why the moment feels so disorienting, why role reversal is emotionally difficult, why strong parents often hide their struggles, and why starting conversations early changes everything. Decline doesn't erase a lifetime of strength, but it does require a new kind of support. And the families who handle this transition best are the ones who move from denial to collaboration early. This has been another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions, powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast. If you're a family navigating senior living decisions, downsizing, or trying to figure out the next step for a parent, visit www.simplifyseniortransitions.com/families for guidance and resources designed specifically for you. And if you're a senior care professional who wants more structure, more predictability, and stronger positioning in today's market, visit www.simplifyseniortransitions.com/professionals to learn how we can build that together. You can watch and listen to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast right here on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if this episode brought you clarity, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Reviews help more families and professionals find the show before stress turns into crisis. I'm Dale Corpus, and I'll see you on the next episode.